My name is Evelyn Ward, and I was 64 years old the day my life cracked open like thin glass. I always believed I understood fear. I believed I knew grief. But the truth is, nothing prepares you for the moment you realize the people you created, the children you raised with your own blood, are capable of becoming strangers. Dangerous strangers. This story is mine. And I am telling it with the same heart that once loved too blindly. The morning of my husband's funeral was cold, unnaturally cold, as if the world itself had stepped back to watch what was going to unfold. My husband, Thomas, had been the strongest man I ever knew. But the casket before me felt heavier than anything I had carried in my entire life. My heart should have been the heaviest part of the moment, but strangely it wasn't. The weight I felt came from something else. Something wrong. I stood there, clutching the small white handkerchief I'd sewn for his birthday the previous year. It still smelled faintly of cedar from his workshop. The pastor's voice echoed, but I wasn't listening. My sons, Adrian and Miles, were beside the casket, too calm, too still. They weren't behaving like grieving sons. They were behaving like men waiting for something to finish. I should have noticed earlier. I should have listened to the small voice inside me that kept whispering, something isn't right. Something isn't right. But I didn't. Maybe I didn't want to. Grief is a strange creature. It blinds as much as it reveals. It was when the final prayer ended and the first clump of dirt hit the wooden lid that my phone buzzed. A vibration so sharp and sudden that it felt like electricity under my skin. I thought it was family condolences. Or maybe one of Thomas's old co-workers from the garage. But when I saw the screen, my blood ran cold. Unknown number. Just one sentence. I'm still alive. That's not me in the casket. For several long seconds my heart stopped beating. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't even blink. The world around me faded, voices washed out, colors became dull. The cold air disappeared. I stared at the message again. Alive. Thomas alive? No. It couldn't be. It had to be a cruel joke, someone playing with a grieving widow. But then another thought hit me, sharp as a knife. Who would know the exact day and minute of the funeral? My fingers trembled as I typed the only reply I could manage. Who are you? The answer came instantly. I can't say. They're watching you. Don't trust your sons. My vision blurred. The phone slipped from my hands, hitting the dirt. Before Doris, my neighbor, could pick it up, I snatched it back. Not trust my sons? No, that was impossible. I had raised Adrian and Miles with everything I had. I had wiped their tears, cooked their meals, worked night shifts to pay for their school. They were my boys. My life. My heart. But even as I reassured myself, something inside me twisted because deep down I already knew. The calm faces. The rushed funeral. The coldness during Thomas's final days in the hospital. The way they avoided my eyes. I wasn't blind. Just in denial. I slipped the phone into my bag, hiding it like a secret I wasn't ready to face. I'm fine, I told Adrian when he asked about my trembling. But his eyes stayed on my purse a little too long. As though he knew something might be inside it. When the funeral ended, they insisted on driving me home. I refused. I didn't want to be trapped in a car with them. I didn't want to feel that suffocating silence again. The one I had ignored at the hospital. So I walked home alone, with the message repeating in my mind like a curse. I'm still alive. Don't trust your sons. That night my home, once warm, once full of laughter, felt like a maze of shadows. Every creak in the wooden floor made me jump. The house seemed too quiet, too still, as if it were holding its breath with me. I sat at the kitchen table staring at my husband's empty chair. They said it was an accident at the workshop. They said a piece of faulty equipment malfunctioned, causing severe burns and brain trauma. But I remembered the doctor's face when he explained Thomas's symptoms. I remembered the hesitation in his voice, the way he avoided looking at me. I pushed the thought aside, terrified of what it might mean. At midnight, unable to sleep, I took out the metal box Thomas always kept locked under his desk. The key was hidden inside his old fishing hat. A habit he thought I didn't know about. Inside the box were documents, receipts, insurance papers, notes. His handwriting was there, shaky in some places, strong in others. But one note, dated 2 weeks before his death, felt like a knife to my heart. Eve, if anything happens to me, check the insurance. Check the boys. Something is wrong. My breath caught. Something is wrong. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run to the police right then. But my hands were shaking too violently to even hold the note properly. Then my phone vibrated again. Look in Thomas's workshop. Check the floor under the main bench. My pulse hammered in my throat. The workshop. I hadn't stepped inside since the accident. Since they told me it had exploded. But the message was too specific to ignore. I wrapped my shawl around myself and walked outside into the freezing night. The workshop door creaked open, letting out air that smelled faintly of oil and metal, but something else too. Something sharp. Chemical. The first thing I noticed was the floor. It was too clean. Spotless, actually. As if someone had scrubbed every inch carefully. No soot. No broken tools. No signs of an explosion. My heart dropped. I knelt beside the main bench and ran my hand along the floor. First nothing. But then my fingers hit a small crack. I pressed harder. One of the wooden planks lifted up slightly. And beneath it, wrapped in a plastic bag, was another note in Thomas's handwriting. The words looked rushed. Panicked. Adrian wants me to increase the insurance. Miles keeps asking what time I drink my morning coffee. I don't trust them. If I don't come home tomorrow, something happened. I covered my mouth to stop the sound that escaped me. My whole body went cold. My sons, my boys, what had they done? I wanted to collapse right there on the workshop floor. But another message vibrated through my phone. They poisoned him. My hand shook violently. Who are you? I typed again. This time the reply was longer. I'll reveal everything soon. But you must act like you believe the accident story. They plan to move against you next. I stared at the last sentence until the words blurred. They plan to move against you next. My sons. My flesh. My blood. Planning to harm me? No, it couldn't be. Except pieces of memory began assembling themselves in ways I had ignored. The rushed funeral. Their whispers at the hospital. The hushed conversations they thought I couldn't hear. Their sudden interest in selling our house. Their insistence that I was too fragile to handle Thomas's medical situation. I pressed my hand to my chest to keep from screaming. Before I could respond, another message appeared. Tomorrow morning. Don't drink anything they give you. Don't sign anything. And don't be alone with them. My eyes filled with tears, hot, burning, indescribable tears. Fear. Betrayal. Rage. A heartbreak worse than widowhood. This wasn't just tragedy anymore. It was a conspiracy. A slow, quiet, calculated murder that had begun months before Thomas took his last breath. And now they were coming for me. I locked the workshop and quickly walked back into the house, checking every window, every door, every shadow. For the first time in my life, I was afraid of my own children. As I turned off the kitchen light, the phone vibrated one last time that night. Evelyn, listen to me. You're not crazy. You're not imagining anything. I have proof. Meet me soon. This started long before the accident. I leaned against the wall, sliding down to the floor as sobs shook my body. My husband hadn't just died. He had been hunted. Now, I could feel it in my bones. The hunt was turning toward me. The night swallowed me whole, and for the first time since Thomas died, I whispered into the dark. I'm scared, but I'm ready. Because if they thought their mother would break easily, they were wrong. Very wrong. And this was only the beginning. I barely slept that night. My mind kept circling the same questions like a trapped bird beating itself against the walls. How long had my sons been planning this? Why had I never noticed? When does a mother's love turn into blindness? When dawn arrived, it felt like a warning instead of comfort. The house looked different in the pale blue light of early morning, emptier, colder, as if it already knew what was coming. I made tea for myself, deliberately leaving the milk untouched. The mysterious number had said not to drink anything they gave me, but I didn't trust anything anymore. Not food, not water, not even the silence. Around 9 there was a knock on the door. Not gentle. Not hesitant. 3 firm knocks like someone claiming the house belonged to them. I froze. Then I heard Adrian's voice. Mom? It's me. Open up. He sounded calm. Too calm. Like a man who had prepared his performance before arriving. I swallowed hard and unlocked the door, keeping the chain in place. Adrian, it's early. He smiled. A rehearsed smile, polite but empty. I was worried about you after the funeral. I thought I'd check on you. His eyes scanned the house behind me. Not lovingly. Not with nostalgia. He scanned it the way a buyer scans a property, calculating value, imagining what to change, what to remove. Can I come in? I hesitated. Just 1 second. But that 1 second was enough for his smile to fade and something sharper to flicker in his eyes. Mom, open the door. I forced myself to unhook the chain. He stepped in and immediately went to the kitchen, as if he owned the place. He opened the cabinets, checked the fridge, glanced at the stove. What are you doing? I asked. He shrugged. Just making sure you're eating. He said the words with concern, but they felt wrong. Too smooth, too ready, like lines memorized from a script someone else had written. When he saw the cup of tea on the counter, he leaned forward and sniffed it. You made this yourself? Yes, I answered. Good, he said softly, almost whispering it. Something twisted deep inside me. Adrian sat at the kitchen table, folded his hands and studied me. Mom, Miles and I spoke to a specialist yesterday. About your grief. The message from last night flashed in my mind like lightning. They're planning to move against you tomorrow. I kept my breathing steady. I'm grieving normally, I said. He shook his head slowly. You've been confused. Forgetful. You weren't even making sense at the hospital. You kept insisting you wanted to see Dad even after the doctor sedated him. You were hysterical, Mom. The nurses told us you were unstable. His voice softened deliberately on the last word. Unstable. That's what they wanted to paint me as. That's not true, I whispered. But he kept going, his voice calm, gentle, rehearsed. When Dad died, you didn't even understand what was happening. You kept saying he squeezed your hand. Mom, that was just a reflex. You're imagining things. You're letting grief get to you. I stared at him, searching for the boy he used to be. The boy who once cried when he broke my favorite mug. The boy who used to hug me every time he left for school. But he was gone. Replaced with a stranger wearing a mask. He leaned across the table. Mom, I need you to sign something. My stomach dropped. What is it? A medical consent form, he said smoothly. The specialist needs your approval to evaluate you. Evaluate me. The word felt like poison. Thomas had warned me in his notes. The mysterious number had warned me. They wanted to have me declared unfit. Then they could take the house, the insurance money, everything Thomas left behind. No, I said quietly. I don't need an evaluation. For the first time that morning, Adrian dropped the act. His expression hardened. Mom, you don't have a choice. I do, I whispered. He stood abruptly, pushing the chair back with a loud scrape. You're making this harder than it needs to be. He didn't sound like a concerned son. He sounded like a man losing patience with a business deal. I'm leaving, he said coldly. Miles and I will be back tonight. And we'll settle this properly. He stepped out but paused at the door. His eyes met mine, and there was nothing in them. We're trying to help you. Don't fight us. And then he left. I locked the door behind him and slid to the floor, trembling so violently I could barely hold my phone. Minutes later it vibrated. The unknown number again. Part 1 of their plan has begun. Don't let them back in tonight. I'll contact you soon. You're running out of time. I stared at the message, feeling the last bit of safety I had evaporate. My sons weren't done. They were only getting started. And I was completely alone. After Adrian left, the silence in the house became suffocating. Every shadow felt alive. Every creak in the wood sounded like footsteps. I paced the living room, holding Thomas's note in one hand and my phone in the other. I needed help. But who could I trust? The police? No, not yet. Adrian and Miles could twist the story, make me look delusional. My relatives? None lived close enough to reach me in time. My neighbors? They thought my sons were wonderful boys. And then at exactly 12:17 p.m., my phone vibrated again. Evelyn, it's me. I'm ready to talk. The same mysterious number. My breath caught. Who are you? I typed. This time the reply wasn't words. It was an address. Just an address. A small cafe on Willow Road, 10 minutes from my house. Beneath it, one more line. Come now. Don't tell anyone. They're watching your house. My heart thudded violently. Watching my house. I rushed to the window, pulling the curtain just enough to peek outside. A black car, one I didn't recognize, was parked across the street. Its windows were tinted. The engine was running. I couldn't see who was inside. My legs turned weak. I grabbed my coat, my purse, Thomas's note, and the keys. I didn't dare exit from the front door, so I slipped out the back, through the garden Thomas had planted years ago. The wind was icy as it brushed against my skin, but fear was a far colder thing. When I reached the corner of my street, I glanced back. The black car door opened. Someone stepped out. A silhouette. A man. He looked toward my house. I ducked behind a hedge, holding my breath until my lungs burned. The message was right. They were watching. I walked fast, almost running, to Willow Road. Every sound felt louder than it should. My footsteps. The rustle of leaves. The distant hum of a lawnmower. My heartbeat. When I finally reached the cafe, my hands were cold and stiff, shaking uncontrollably. I stepped inside. Warm air hit my face. People were chatting. Coffee machines whirred. Normal life. The contrast made me dizzy. I scanned the tables. Then I saw him. A man in his early 50s, gray at the temples, sitting in the corner. Not eating. Not drinking. Just waiting. His eyes sharp, calm, aware, lifted when I entered. He raised a hand slightly. A signal. I approached him slowly, my heartbeat echoing in my ears. He stood when I reached the table. "Mrs. Ward," he said in a low voice. "I'm Samuel Reed. Your husband hired me 3 weeks before he died." My breath froze inside my chest. "Hired you for what?" He motioned for me to sit, and when I did, he leaned forward, voice barely above a whisper. "To investigate your sons." For a moment I forgot how to breathe. He slid a sealed envelope toward me. Thomas knew something was wrong. He suspected Adrian and Miles were planning something. He didn't know what. But he was afraid. I swallowed. Afraid of what? Samuel's eyes softened. Afraid they wanted him dead. My whole body turned cold. He opened a small recorder and clicked play. And there it was. Thomas's voice. My husband's voice. Worried. Tired. Certain. "Sam, if anything happens to me, it won't be an accident. My boys, they're not the same anymore. They're pushing for insurance changes. Asking strange questions. Eva's in danger too. If I don't come back home one day, don't let them near her." The cafe around me dissolved. The voices faded. The light dimmed. Only Thomas's voice remained. Samuel lowered the recorder. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Ward. I should have come to you sooner. But your sons, they're smart. They're careful. They've already moved faster than I expected." My throat tightened. "What do they want from me?" Samuel looked directly into my eyes. "Everything Thomas left behind. And they can't get it unless you're out of the way." I closed my eyes, tears escaping despite my efforts. "How do you know?" I whispered. He placed another file on the table. "Because I bugged their phones." He pressed play again. Adrian's voice. Cold. Strategic. "She's alone now. If we push just a little harder, she'll sign everything. If she doesn't, we'll handle it." Miles's voice responded. "How long until she breaks?" "Not long," Adrian said. "She's scared. Confused. Perfect timing. Tonight we make our move." I shivered violently. Tonight. They were planning something tonight. Samuel touched my arm gently. "You need to leave the house. You can't go back there until this is handled." I wiped my tears with trembling hands. "What do we do?" "We expose them," he said firmly. "But we need more evidence. Enough to bring the police. Enough they can't twist." His eyes narrowed. "I need you to be brave today." I nodded even though my whole body trembled. "I will," I whispered. Samuel leaned closer. His voice now almost non-existent. "And whatever happens tonight, don't open your door." A chill ran down my spine. This wasn't just danger anymore. This was survival. And tonight, when I walked out of the cafe with Samuel's voice still replaying in my ears, it felt like the world around me had shifted in a way I could never undo. The sky looked darker, the air heavier, as if even nature could sense the danger crawling closer. I kept one hand inside my coat pocket, gripping the note Thomas left for me, afraid that if I let go of it for even a moment, I would fall apart completely. Samuel walked beside me, not speaking, not rushing me, just matching my pace. He seemed to know I needed a moment, maybe several. Every step toward the car felt like I was walking deeper into a truth I had never imagined. When we reached his car, he unlocked the passenger door and opened it for me. I hesitated, not because I didn't trust him, but because trust had become a luxury I could no longer afford. He noticed my hesitation and spoke softly. "I know you don't know me, but your husband trusted me. And right now, I'm the only one trying to keep you alive." Something inside me cracked at those words, not because they frightened me, but because they sounded true. So I got in. For several minutes we drove in silence. My fingers trembled the entire time, gripping the strap of my purse like it was the last solid thing in my life. Every car that passed us made my heart jump. Every shadow felt like it could be hiding Adrian or Miles. Finally, Samuel spoke. "They'll check your house first." My breath caught. "Today." He nodded. "They're impatient. You refused to sign. You didn't take the medication they offered. They know you're suspicious." He glanced at me before continuing. "They'll try to intimidate you tonight. But before they can do anything, we need proof. Enough to make sure they never get a chance to hurt you again." I forced my voice to steady. "What kind of proof?" "Financial records. Phone logs. Insurance documents. Medication traces. And something more important than all of it." His grip on the steering wheel tightened. "A recording of them admitting what they did." My stomach tightened painfully. "They won't say anything to me. They're too cautious." "I know," he said. "But they might say it to each other." "Why would they?" He hesitated only a second before answering. Because tonight, they'll be planning their final step. My chest constricted. What is their final step? Samuel didn't soften his voice. He didn't try to protect me from the truth. To get rid of you. The car felt too small, too suffocating, too full of realities I wasn't strong enough to hear yet. I turned my face toward the window, staring at the blur of empty roads, trying to swallow the trembling inside me. A mother shouldn't have to fear her children. A mother shouldn't have to run from the life she built. A mother shouldn't have to wonder why her son stopped loving her. Samuel's voice broke through my thoughts. Evelyn, when your husband came to me, he was scared. He said the boys were different. Secretive. Cold. He didn't know what they were planning. But he knew it wasn't good. I closed my eyes, fighting the ache spreading through my chest. I kept thinking I failed them. I whispered. That I did something wrong raising them. Samuel shook his head firmly. You didn't fail them. They made their own choices. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe that monsters weren't born from a mother's mistakes. But doubt can be louder than truth. We drove to an apartment building on the edge of town. It looked old but safe, brick walls, narrow windows, no unnecessary attention. Samuel parked in the back, away from the street, and led me up a flight of stairs to a small unit. Inside, the apartment was sparse, only essentials, nothing personal. A safe house. You'll stay here until tonight, he said. I'll bring something that will help us. What is it? I asked. He opened a small case on the table and revealed a device no bigger than a coin. A silent transmitter. You'll place it in your home. It'll pick up everything within 10 feet. If your sons confess to anything, we'll have it. My heart raced. You want me to go back? Yes, he said softly. But not until I set everything up. You won't be alone. I swallowed, feeling a tremor run through me. What if they try something tonight? They won't, Samuel said. Not with me watching. Not with the police ready to move the moment we have evidence. His confidence should have comforted me. It didn't. Because no amount of reassurance could erase the image of the boys I raised. The boys who once slept curled against my chest, now plotting my death. Samuel left briefly to make some calls. I walked toward the window, looking down at the empty street. Cars passed occasionally, people walked dogs. Life continued like nothing in the world was wrong. But everything in my world was wrong. Every memory felt poison now. Birthday parties. School events. Christmas mornings. I kept asking myself when it happened. When did my sons become strangers? When did their smiles turn into masks? My hands tightened around the curtain. I whispered without meaning to. Thomas, why didn't we see this coming? A soft knock on the door startled me. Samuel stepped back inside. Evelyn, he said quietly. I spoke to someone, a friend in the department. They'll help us, but we need that recording. Without it, your sons will twist everything. I nodded slowly. My fear didn't fade, but something else rose beside it. Determination. I didn't want to fight my sons. I didn't want any of this. But I wasn't ready to die. Samuel handed me a bottle of water. Eat something. Rest. You'll need your strength for tonight. I drank 2 small sips and set it aside. My hands were too shaky to take more. I sat on the small couch, leaning forward, elbows on my knees. When did this become my life? I whispered. Samuel didn't answer. Maybe there wasn't an answer. Hours passed slowly, each minute thick with dread. The shadows in the apartment grew longer as evening crept in. My pulse grew louder. My breaths quicker. Finally, Samuel locked eyes with me. It's time. A cold shiver ran through me. He handed me the transmitter. We go in. We plant it. We leave. You won't stay the night alone. His voice was steady. Mine wasn't when I answered. I'm ready. But I wasn't. No mother ever could be. Yet I stood up anyway, because fear wasn't going to stop me from surviving. We left the apartment together, the sky heavy and dark, and for the first time I truly felt it. Tonight wasn't just another night. It was the night everything was going to break. And once it did, nothing would ever be the same again. The drive back to my house felt longer than it ever had before, even though it was only a few minutes away. I kept staring out the window, watching the darkening sky, the quiet streets, the familiar houses that suddenly felt like part of a world I no longer belonged to. Every mailbox, every streetlight, every passing shadow made my chest tighten. My home was just around the corner, yet it felt impossibly far. Like I was approaching something dangerous, something irreversible. Samuel parked the car 2 streets away to avoid attention. He turned off the engine and faced me. Remember, he said quietly, we don't stay long. We go in, plant the transmitter, and leave. Your sons think you're alone and vulnerable. We're using that assumption. I nodded, even though my hands were shaking so badly that I had to grip the seatbelt to steady myself. "I'll be right behind you the entire time," he added. His voice was calm, confident, but the weight of the moment pressed heavily on both of us. I opened the door slowly, the cool night air brushing against my face like a warning. My house stood at the end of the street, porch light glowing faintly, looking harmless, almost welcoming. It was a lie. Everything familiar had turned into a threat. My footsteps felt too loud on the pavement, too fragile, like they could break me with every step. When we reached the backyard, Samuel scanned the surroundings with careful eyes. "No movement," he whispered. I slipped my hand into my coat pocket and touched the tiny transmitter. It felt colder than my fingers, lighter than a feather, yet heavier than my entire world. This little piece of metal and circuitry could save my life. Or expose me completely. The back door creaked when I unlocked it. The sound pierced the silence. I froze, heart slamming inside my chest. Samuel gently touched my arm, signaling me to move. I pushed the door open, stepping into the kitchen. The air inside was still, lifeless, as if the house was holding its breath. Everything was exactly as Adrian had left it in the morning. The chair he pushed back from the table. The untouched glass of water he had set in front of me. The papers he wanted me to sign. The chair felt like a ghost sitting there. Something in the atmosphere felt wrong, disturbed, like someone had been inside recently. My eyes went to the small rug near the hallway. It was slightly folded at the corner. I knew I hadn't left it that way. Someone had come in after me. I whispered, "Samuel." He stepped forward, checking the rooms one by one. "No one's here now." But yes, someone came. My pulse hammered. "They're checking on you," he said. "Maybe searching for something. Maybe watching to see if you left." A chill crawled up my spine. "Let's plant it," he said softly, "before they return." We moved into the living room. My sons always sat here when they talked privately. This was where they whispered, where they planned. This would be the best place to hide the transmitter. Samuel knelt near the wooden bookshelf, searching the underside carefully. "Here," he murmured. "Behind the lower shelf." "Perfect." I slid the tiny device into the narrow gap. It clicked softly, locking into place. A wave of air left my lungs. Fear mixed with a strange, fragile hope. For the first time in days, I felt like I wasn't completely powerless. We turned to leave, but then, a faint sound. A car door closing. Samuel stiffened immediately. He lifted a hand, signaling me not to move. Another sound. A voice, faint but unmistakable. "Miles." My legs nearly gave out beneath me. Samuel whispered urgently, "Back door. Now." But before we could take 2 steps, the front door handle turned. I gasped silently, panic seizing me like ice. "Not now. Not now. Please, not now." The door didn't open, but someone tested the lock. Gently. Slowly. "Mom." Miles's voice drifted through the door. "You home?" My heart raced violently. My breath felt heavy, trapped in my throat. Samuel pressed a finger to his lips and stepped deeper into the shadows of the hallway. I followed him silently, every nerve in my body trembling. Miles knocked again, 2 slow knocks. Adrian's voice followed. "Mom, open the door." We saw the lights. Lights? My blood went cold. I looked toward the living room lamp. It was still on. I had forgotten to switch it off. They knew I was inside. They knew I had come back. Samuel grabbed my wrist gently and leaned close to my ear. "Don't speak. Don't move. They don't know I'm here. They won't break in. They're testing you." Another knock. Harder this time. "Mom," Adrian said, voice strangely calm. "Why are you ignoring us?" My throat tightened painfully. I couldn't breathe. Samuel guided me slowly, silently toward the kitchen. We stepped backward 1 inch at a time, our breaths barely audible. Then through the door we heard Miles whisper something faint. "Maybe she went to the back." Samuel's eyes widened slightly. No. We hurried through the kitchen, reaching the back door. Samuel cracked it open, peering outside. The yard was empty. "Go," he mouthed silently. We slipped out, closing the door without a sound. The cold night slapped my face, and for a moment the world spun around me. We moved down the small path along the wall of the house, crouching behind the bushes just as the back porch light flicked on. Footsteps. Miles stepped out onto the porch, scanning the backyard. I held my breath until tears formed. His voice drifted into the night. "Adrian, she's not here." Adrian appeared beside him. His face looked colder, sharper, so different from the child I remembered. He muttered, "She's hiding something." Miles nodded. "We need to push harder. Tonight." My heart cracked inside my chest. They turned back inside. The porch light went off. The house fell silent again. Samuel exhaled very slowly. We need to go now, he whispered. We slipped away into the darkness, moving quickly but quietly until we reached the car 2 streets away. Only when the doors were shut and locked did I finally allow myself to breathe. Samuel started the engine. They know you're resisting, he said. That's why tonight is critical. I stared ahead at the empty street. I heard them, I whispered. I heard them say they want to push harder. Samuel didn't soften the truth. They're desperate now. Their plan isn't working. That makes them dangerous. A tear slid down my cheek, but I didn't wipe it. What do we do next? Samuel looked at me with steady eyes. Now we wait. And we listen. The transmitter is live. Tonight anything they say inside that house, every word, every whisper will be recorded. He paused. And with that we might finally get the truth. I didn't answer. I just looked back at my house growing smaller through the car window. A house that once protected me. A house that now hunted me. Tonight everything would be recorded. And tomorrow the truth would destroy someone. Maybe them. Maybe me. Maybe all of us. But there was no turning back anymore. Not after what I heard. Not after what I knew. Not after what they planned. The night swallowed us whole as Samuel drove toward the safe house. And I whispered into the darkness. Please, Thomas, stay with me. I'm scared. Samuel drove us back to the safe apartment without saying much. And I didn't have the strength to break the silence. My mind was still trapped in the moment I heard my son's voices outside the door. Calm, calculating. Searching for me like hunters circling prey. I had never heard them talk like that. Not even as rebellious teenagers. There was something hollow in their tone, something cold that didn't belong to the boys I raised. The boys I remembered were gentle, messy, loud, full of life. The men standing outside my kitchen door were strangers wearing my son's faces. When we reached the apartment, I sat down on the couch, unable to unclench my hands. My fingers had dug so deep into my palms that faint red marks lined my skin. Samuel handed me a glass of water. You did well tonight, he said softly. Better than most people could. I wished his words comforted me. They didn't. Nothing could comfort a mother who just hid in bushes from her own children. What happens now? I whispered. Now, he said. We monitor the feed. He placed a small laptop on the table. A waveform pulsed across the screen, silent but alive. The transmitter was working. Every sound in my house was traveling through that tiny device straight into this room. I couldn't look at it for long. The screen made my chest tighten. My house was no longer a home. It was evidence. A crime scene waiting to be proven. Hours passed in heavy silence. The clock ticked, faint but unrelenting. Midnight crept over us like a cold shadow. Samuel had left briefly to get supplies, food, batteries, a second phone. I sat alone in the dimly lit apartment, staring at the floor, clasping my hands over my mouth to contain the million thoughts screaming inside my head. At 12:47 a.m. the screen flickered. A sound. Footsteps. My breath punched out of me. I leaned closer. Samuel rushed back to the table, eyes narrowing as he adjusted the volume. Voices emerged slowly, muffled at first, then clearer, blending with the quiet creaks of the wooden floor. It was Adrian. But his voice was different tonight. Faster, sharper, edged with anger. She's not answering her phone, he said. Miles responded, quieter, almost irritated. She hasn't been here since morning. Maybe she stayed with Doris. No, Adrian snapped. She would have told us. And the lights were on. Someone was inside. My throat tightened painfully. I could picture them standing in the living room, their shadows flickering across the walls. Miles sighed. So what now? Adrian paused before answering, his voice dropping into a chilling calm that didn't belong to my son. Simple. We move forward. Something cold slid down my spine. What does that mean? Miles asked. You know what it means, Adrian said. A long silence followed. Then Miles whispered, voice strained. Are you sure? We don't have time, Adrian answered. We need the house, the insurance, everything. If Mom keeps resisting, we'll lose everything Dad left behind. Samuel and I exchanged a glance. Keep listening, he whispered. I nodded, gripping the edge of the table so tightly my knuckles turned white. Adrian continued, voice steady, chilling, rehearsed. We tried talking. We tried convincing her. Nothing's working. So we take the next step. Miles exhaled through his nose, nervous. And you think we can actually get away with it? We already did, Adrian said. Dad was the hard part. My body froze. My heart, my lungs, my whole existence stopped. Miles's voice trembled. We didn't mean for Dad to. Adrian cut him off ruthlessly. It's done. He didn't listen. He started investigating us. If we hadn't acted, he would have ruined everything. We didn't have a choice. Samuel muttered under his breath. There it is, confession. But I broke. Tears streamed silently down my face. My chest ached so intensely I pressed my hand against it to keep myself upright. My husband's death. Their father. Poisoned. Because of money. My boys killed their father. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tear the transmitter from the wall and throw it away. I wanted to run until the world disappeared behind me. But I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't be anything except shattered. Samuel placed a hand lightly on my shoulder, grounding me. Evelyn, we have what we need. But keep listening. There might be more. I wiped my tears, swallowing the pain burning my throat. Inside the house, Miles's voice wavered. She's still our mother. There was a long pause. A heavy one. A cruel one. Adrian finally replied. And that's the only reason she's still alive. The world spun. The room tilted. My vision blurred. Samuel steadied me. Sit. Breathe. But I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I couldn't believe the words coming from the lips of the boys I carried, loved, protected with every bit of my soul. Miles's voice broke the silence again. So what do we do when she comes back? Adrian didn't even hesitate. We finish what we started. A sob broke out of me before I could stop it. I covered my mouth to silence it, my entire body shaking violently. They weren't guessing. They weren't emotional. They weren't conflicted. They were planning. Planning to kill me. My children. My flesh. My blood. Samuel turned down the volume and leaned in close. Evelyn, listen to me. This is exactly the evidence we needed. The police will take this seriously. They will arrest them. They will protect you. But his words felt far away, like someone calling to me from underwater. They wanted to kill their father. And now me. My voice broke into fragments. I don't understand, Samuel. What did I do wrong? Samuel shook his head gently. You didn't do anything wrong. Greed changes people. Entitlement changes people. This is not your fault. A mother's guilt is a living thing. It breathes. Claws. Never lets go. But Samuel's words held me together long enough to hear the next part of the recording. Adrian again. By morning she'll be back home. Worried. Alone. We'll be ready. Miles swallowed. And then. Adrian's answer cut through me like a blade. Then the house becomes ours. Samuel immediately paused the recording. That's it, he said firmly. We're done. We take this to the police now. I nodded, my body trembling, my heart aching in a way I had never known before. He packed the laptop, grabbed the transmitter receiver, and guided me toward the door. But then my phone vibrated. A message. From an unknown number. Except, it wasn't the same unknown number from before. This one said only, "They know you're listening." My blood froze. I stared at the screen, unable to speak. Samuel leaned closer to read it. His face changed instantly. Eyes sharp. Posture tense. Evelyn, who sent that? I shook my head. I don't know. But deep inside, a new fear was forming. Someone else was watching. Someone else was listening. Someone else was involved. Not Adrian. Not Miles. Someone else. Samuel grabbed my arm. Evelyn, we need to leave. Now. Because suddenly it wasn't just my sons hunting me. There was someone in the shadows. Someone who knew the truth. Someone who wasn't supposed to exist. And they had just made their first move. The moment I read that message, "They know you're listening," something inside me snapped. It wasn't fear. Fear had been with me for days, living inside my bones. This was something different. A sharp, quiet awareness, like stepping into a room and realizing you are not alone. Samuel grabbed the laptop and pulled me toward the door. He didn't speak, didn't waste a second. His urgency told me everything I needed to know. This wasn't from Adrian or Miles. Someone else had eyes on us. Someone who shouldn't exist inside this story. We reached the car. The night felt heavier than before, the air thick enough to choke on. Samuel didn't turn on the headlights immediately. He eased the car slowly out of the narrow alley behind the apartment building before finally illuminating the road. Evelyn, he said carefully, that number is not the same one that warned you before. I know, I whispered, clutching my coat. This is someone new. His jaw tightened. Which means someone else is following the investigation. Someone inside your son's circle, or outside it. I stared at my shaking hands. How many people are involved, Samuel? How deep does this go? He didn't answer, not because he didn't want to, but because he didn't know. And that terrified me more than any truth he could have spoken. We drove toward the station, but halfway there, Samuel slowed the car, frowning as he checked his rearview mirror. Evelyn. I turned. A pair of headlights. Far behind us but staying at the exact same distance. A car following us. Is it them? I whispered. I don't know, he said quietly. But they're not passing. Not slowing. Not turning. The air inside the car grew suffocating. Should we call the police? I murmured. Samuel shook his head. Not yet. If it's a coincidence, we can't panic. If it's real, we don't want to alert them. Real. Everything was real. My husband's death. My son's betrayal. The poison. The plot. And now another watcher in the dark. The car behind us didn't change distance. Didn't stop. Just followed. Samuel took a turn to test them. The car followed. My heart hammered so loud it felt like it filled the entire car. Samuel. He didn't look at me. His eyes stayed on the mirror. Stay calm. They won't try anything while we're in public. But the roads were empty. Midnight had swallowed the town. Shops were closed. Streetlights flickered weakly. Public didn't exist anymore. Samuel suddenly changed direction, turning into a gas station with bright fluorescent lights. He parked close to the entrance, somewhere visible. Somewhere safe. The following car slowed at the intersection, paused, and then drove straight without turning in. I exhaled so sharply I felt dizzy. Was it a coincidence? Was it a warning? Or were they just smart enough not to expose themselves? Samuel waited another minute, eyes still sharp. Then he finally spoke. We go inside. Send the recordings to the police from here. It's safer than waiting. I followed him out of the car, legs trembling. Inside the gas station, the fluorescent lights buzzed loudly overhead. The warmth felt artificial, but it was better than the cold fear outside. Samuel opened the laptop on a small metal table near the window. Once this uploads, the police will have everything. They'll move immediately. I wrapped my coat tighter around myself. My sons. My children. Soon the police would hear their confession. Soon they would be arrested. Soon everything I ever loved would collapse. My eyes stung with unshed tears. Samuel placed a gentle hand on my arm. Evelyn, you're doing the right thing. I don't feel like I am, I whispered. I feel like I'm betraying them. He shook his head slowly. They betrayed you long before today. My throat tightened. I just don't understand how it came to this. No mother raises her children expecting to turn them in for murder. No mother imagines hearing her sons plan her death. The upload reached 80%. Then my phone vibrated. Another message. Same unknown number. The dangerous one. The one that knew too much. It said, do not trust him. A chill shot through me. Trust him? Samuel? I stared at the screen, unable to move. My breath hitched, jagged and painful. Samuel noticed. Evelyn? What's wrong? I hid the screen instinctively. Nothing. Just nerves. He nodded, focusing again on the upload. 91%. My hand shook violently. The first unknown number, the one who warned me from day one, had helped me, guided me, saved me. But this number, this one felt different. This one felt like a threat pulling me toward a darker truth. I whispered, do not trust him? To myself. Why? What did they know that I didn't? Samuel closed the laptop slowly. Done. It's uploaded. The police have it. I swallowed hard. What happens now? They'll call soon, he said. Be ready. We drove back toward the safe apartment. The streets were quieter than before, so silent it felt unnatural. As we reached the building, Samuel parked and turned to me. Get some rest. Tomorrow everything changes. I climbed out of the car, but something inside me hesitated. He sensed it. I'll keep watch, he assured. No one will come near you tonight. He meant it. His voice was firm, real, protective. Yet the message kept echoing in my mind like a curse. Do not trust him. Inside the apartment, I locked the door and leaned against it, breathing hard. Every sound outside made me jump. Every shadow made my skin crawl. I sat on the bed holding my phone, staring at the last message. Who was this second unknown number? How did they know where I was? How did they know what I was doing? And what did they know about Samuel? Another vibration. My heart nearly stopped. A new message. I tried to warn your husband too. My blood froze. Another message came instantly after. He didn't listen. My fingers went numb. My breath shook. No. Please no. The phone vibrated again. Don't repeat his mistake. In that moment, the room felt colder than ever. The air stilled. The shadows grew deeper. For the first time since Thomas died, I realized something terrifying. Someone else knew the truth. Someone else was involved. Someone else had been watching my family long before I even suspected. And now they were watching me. I closed my eyes, whispering into the darkness. Oh God, what have I stepped into? The night outside pressed against the windows, silent and dangerous. And I knew episode 6 would not be about surviving my sons anymore. It would be about discovering who else wanted me dead. And why. I didn't sleep that night. Not even for a minute. The apartment was quiet, but inside me everything was shaking. My mind kept replaying the last message again and again. I tried to warn your husband too. He didn't listen. Don't repeat his mistake. Whoever was sending these texts, they were close. Much closer than I ever realized. Too close. Around 4 a.m., the sky outside the window shifted from black to a dull gray. The world looked tired the way I felt deep inside. I hadn't moved from the edge of the bed. My phone lay in my lap like a live wire. And then it vibrated again. The same number. The wrong number. The dangerous one. They aren't your only enemies. My throat closed. I could barely breathe. If you knew who else was involved, you'd never close your eyes again. A cold sweat broke over my skin. I typed back with trembling fingers. Who are you? The reply came instantly. Someone who knows the truth. Before I could respond, a sharp knock on the apartment door made my heart nearly stop. I froze. Completely. The knock came again, quiet but firm. Samuel's voice followed. Evelyn? It's me. Open the door. A wave of relief washed through me. Until I remembered the message. Do not trust him. My breath lodged inside my chest. My hand hovered over the lock. Something felt wrong. Something felt different. Samuel knocked a third time, softer. Evelyn? Are you awake? The police called. They need us. I pressed my ear to the door, listening. His tone sounded steady. Calm. Real. But the message, the warning. My heart battled my mind. I forced myself to clear my voice. 1 second, I said. I unlocked the chain slowly, opened the door just a crack. Not enough to let anyone in. Samuel stood there. Same coat. Same calm expression. Same man who saved me again and again. But his eyes were tired. Not the tiredness of sleeplessness. The tiredness of someone holding too many secrets. He noticed the narrow opening. You okay? He asked gently. I nodded stiffly. Just shaken. He gave me a sympathetic expression, then stepped back so I could open the door fully. For a moment I almost did. Almost. But then his phone buzzed in his coat pocket. He flinched. Not the flinch of surprise. The flinch of guilt. I felt it before I understood it. Who's calling you? I whispered. He hesitated. It was only a second, but enough to confirm everything I didn't want to believe. No one important, he said. Lie. A clear lie. My fingers tightened around the door. Samuel, I said quietly. Who sent the message last night? He blinked. What message? Another lie. A louder one. He reached toward the door slightly. Evelyn, please. We need to go. I stepped back. Show me your phone. His expression changed. Subtle, but real. A flicker of panic. I said it's nothing. He said a little too quickly. Fear wrapped around my ribs like metal bands. My voice trembled. Samuel, were you watching Thomas too? Silence. A heavy, suffocating silence. Then he exhaled slowly, rubbing a hand over his jaw. Evelyn, listen. Just tell me the truth, I whispered. He looked down, then back at me. His voice lowered. Yes. The world tilted violently. Yes. Yes, he had been watching my husband. Yes, he had been involved long before I knew him. I staggered back from the door. Why? My voice cracked. He lifted his hand slightly, not threatening, calming. It's not what you think. Thomas hired me to look into your sons, but someone else. Someone inside the insurance company. Also wanted information. My pulse spiked. Someone inside? He nodded. A financial investigator. They suspected fraud in large policies, including your husband's. My heart pounded. So you were working for both? Yes, he admitted. At first. But once Thomas died, I only focused on helping you. I shook my head. Then who sent the messages? Who told me not to trust you? Samuel's eyes hardened. That wasn't me. But I know who it was. Before I could ask, his phone vibrated again. He silenced it quickly, too quickly. I whispered. Who's calling you? He didn't answer. Instead, he stepped closer. Evelyn, we don't have time. We need to leave. Your sons aren't at the house. They left at dawn. This is our chance. But my instincts were screaming. The message. His lies. His phone. His half-answers. Something wasn't right. Still. Something else inside me whispered that he wasn't the enemy either. Not fully. Not the way Adrian and Miles were. He was hiding something, a truth, a connection, a motive, but not the kind that wanted me dead. I took a shaky breath. Where are we going? To meet the police, he said. They have the dispatch ready to move. I let my hand slip from the door. I opened it fully. Okay, I said. But inside nothing felt okay. We drove in silence. The morning light made everything clearer and crueler at the same time. The closer we got to the police station, the louder my heart pounded. We turned the corner, and Samuel's phone rang again. He ignored it. I didn't. Samuel, I said, voice thin, answer it. He hesitated. Then he handed it to me. Go ahead. Put it on speaker. I stared at the unknown number on the screen. The same number that had been warning me all night. My voice shook as I answered. Hello. A man's voice, calm and cold, filled the car. Evelyn. You're with the wrong person. Samuel clenched his jaw. Hang up. I didn't. I whispered. Who are you? The voice replied. I'm the man your husband truly hired. My breath caught. But Samuel told you the story he wanted you to believe. I looked at Samuel. His face was rigid. Eyes burning. The voice continued. He didn't just work for you. He worked for them too. Samuel slammed his hand against the steering wheel. That's enough. But the voice kept talking, unbothered. Ask him where he was the night your husband died. My heart shattered. My voice broke. Samuel, where were you? His hands tightened around the wheel. His throat bobbed. His eyes stayed forward. I was following a lead, he said. Liar. The voice whispered through the speaker. He was at your house. My entire world went silent. Silent in a way sound can't break. I whispered. Samuel, is that true? He finally looked at me. And the answer was in his eyes. Yes. I felt sick. He whispered. Evelyn. I didn't hurt Thomas. I swear to you. But I was there. Not to harm him, to protect him. Someone else arrived before me. Someone who slipped through the back. Someone who knew the house. My blood froze. Samuel, who? His next words ended everything. Someone your husband trusted. The voice on the phone cut in softly. You'll find the real killer soon, Evelyn. Then the call ended. I stared at Samuel as the car slowed outside the police station. Not angry. Not screaming. Just broken. Why didn't you tell me? I whispered. He looked at me like a man begging for forgiveness he knew he'd never receive. Because the truth is bigger than your sons. Bigger than me. And I didn't want to drag you into it. But I was already in it. Deep. Dangerous. Trapped. I stepped out of the car slowly, my legs weak, my heart shattered. Samuel called after me. Evelyn, your sons didn't act alone. I froze. He continued. Someone else helped them. Someone older. Someone smarter. Someone who wants the same thing. Even now. My stomach churned painfully. Who? Samuel swallowed hard. We don't know yet. But we will. I whispered. What do I do now? He looked at me with a tired, aching expression. You survive. Inside the police station, officers moved quickly, playing the recordings, taking my statement, preparing warrants for Adrian and Miles. It should have felt like justice. It didn't. Felt like mourning. Mourning for the boys I lost. For the husband I failed to protect. For the life that shattered beyond recognition. Hours later, as they escorted me to a protection unit, my phone buzzed one last time. A final message from the unknown number. This isn't the end. But you survived the worst part. Another message followed instantly. Your husband would be proud of you. I broke into tears. Not from fear, but from something softer. Something fragile. Before I could respond, a third message arrived. When the time comes, I'll tell you the rest. And then, for now, rest. You are safe tonight. I closed my eyes. For the first time in weeks, I believed it. The story didn't end with answers. It ended with survival. It ended with truth emerging from shadows. And sometimes, that's enough. I whispered one final time into the quiet air. Thomas. I survived.